Alright, this is a quick video to show you all the components that come with a Manta Ray retrofit upgrade kit. You'll receive two separate boxes. One will be this handle assembly, and the rest of the items will come in a different box. The other box will contain the tank, two wheels, two side hinges, transport axle fluid delivery axle, a bag of bolts for connecting the side plates to the tank draw latch hold downs, and two side plates that connect to your transport axle. Your base CRB unit should look something like this machine here that you're trying to retrofit. The first step in this process is to remove the handle. To remove your CRB handle, you should see a metal quick release on each side, and those just pop out and your handle should slide off. You could have a different style CRB machine where you remove the handle from these cones directly mounted to the side hinges. Or you may have a crossbar like this that's mounted to the side hinge. Either way, if you have this sidebar, you're gonna go ahead and remove that as well, which in this case is just these two bolts right here. Now that you've got your crossbar and handle removed, the next step is to remove this hood or shroud. There are typically 4 screws or bolts in the 4 corners here and here. This is the back of the machine, so there's 2 more in the exact same spot on the other side. So you'll just be removing these screws or bolts. There are 4 of them to remove this hood. Now that you've got the 4 screws or bolts removed from your corners, 2 in the back, and 2 in the front, that should loosen up this hood or shroud, and then you want to just remove it. You might kind of have to guide it under your hinges, depending on what your hinges look like. And then that should come completely off, and we do not need this for now. We'll come back to the hood in a later step. The next step is to remove the left and right side hinges. Again, your machine might look a little different. You might have a side hinge that looks more like this. If so, it can be removed the exact same way. There's a C-clip over each one of them, and we'll do some close-up photos of how to remove that and remove the hinges. In order to remove the C-clips or snap rings, you'll need snap ring pliers that should look similar to this. Then, you're going to find the ring and extend the ring out and remove it off of the post on both sides. Then, the hand should just slide right off. So I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. Use the snap ring pliers, remove the snap ring, and then the hand should just slide right off that post. Now we're going to install the 2 side hinges for your Manta Ray upgrade kit. These are the left and right side hinges. They will come with the bolts pre-threaded into them. That way you know which is the left and right side hinge. But also, if you look at the side view of them, they're shaped a little bit differently. The one that has this protruding end is the electrical side. It is the left side hinge. Then, the other one is the right side hinge. You can also tell which is which by how the bolts are threaded in as well. To install the left and right side hinges, it's the reverse process of what you did to remove them. So you'll slide each hinge onto the post, and then you'll attach your C-clip rings the same way that you removed them with your snap ring pliers. Now that your left and right side hinges have been installed, you're just going to let those be, and we'll come back to that step. That'll actually be one of the final steps of attaching the handle to the side hinges. But for now, we're going to move on to the next step, which will be attaching and installing the side plates for your transport axle and wheels. These are the 2 left and right side plates you will install. Your side plate should come with this box on, and it has a little thumb screw in the center. You can go ahead and remove this thumb screw and the cover. We will not need it until a later step. We're going to install the right side plate first, which looks like this. That way we can put the machine up on its end, and we'll do the right side first. We will do the left side next. The reason for that is if you did the left first, it's got this knob sticking out, so you won't be able to flip the machine onto the left side. It won't be an even surface. So start with the right side. Now we've got the machine sitting on its left side. So this is the right side sticking up in the air, and we're gonna install the right side hinge, which is going to overlay these 3 bolts right here. So you need to remove these bolts and replace them back to attach the side plate. We've also included a bag of hardware bolts. Depending on how many times you've taken this machine apart before, there could be various different types of bolts and lengths of bolts. We've provided 7 bolts, so you can decide to reuse whatever bolts you can, or if you need to use the new bolts you can do that as well. This is the bag of bolts that comes with your Manta Ray kit. I believe we'll be able to reuse these bolts that are already on our machine. But if you run into a bolt that when you're trying to install the side plate is too short or not the right fit, you can use one of these bolts and it should work out for you. So now I am removing these 3 bolts where we're going to install the side hinge. Once those bolts are removed, we're going to overlay the side plate itself over those 3 bolt holes. You want to make sure that this triangular shaped part is coming out towards the back of the machine. This is where your transport axle and wheels are going to attach. This is the backside of the machine. Alright, so I've hand started these 3 bolts here to attach the side hinge. Then, I'll tighten them the rest of the way. I've got the machine sitting upright on its right side, so we're going to install the left side hinge here. You can see our right side hinge down here that we already installed in the previous step. So similar to the right side, this one has 4 bolts instead of 3 and overlays on these 4 bolts here. So go ahead and remove these 4 bolts and then put your side hinge down and replace those bolts. I've used my tool to loosen up these bolts. I am removing them by hand now. Once they are removed, go ahead and line up your left side hinge. Then you can reinstall the bolts that came out, or you can use the hardware that came with the kit. Once you've hand tightened the bolts, you can use the tool to tighten them the rest of the way. Now that the 2 side plates are installed, we are going to install the transport axle and 2 wheels. When your kit arrives, you'll see that your transport axle already has the bolts on each end hand screwed in. Your wheels will each come with a zip tie around them, which is to hold the bearings inside so they don't come loose during transport. We've already removed those zip ties and have the 2 wheels and transport axle ready. First, you'll go ahead and remove the bolts by hand from the transport axle. Then grab a wheel, and insert the bolt you removed through the wheel. The wheel goes in between the axle and the side plate. Then do the same thing on the other side. Alright, we've got the left wheel hand tightened and bolted into the axle. You're just gonna do the same thing here on the right side. Go ahead and feed your bolt through the wheel. Line it up with the axle and then hand tighten it in the rest of the way and then get your hex tool. It's a 5 and a 5.5 hex tool and tighten down each of your bolts. You probably need one on either side so you can counter tighten each bolt. If you don't want to use a tool on either side, you can also just hold the axle while you're tightening down the bolts. This might be an easier option. In this next step, we are going to install these draw latch mounts. So eventually, these will be mounted onto the hood of the machine. These are what's used to secure the tank to the machine while it's in use. So in your kit, you'll see these are kind of already pre-installed with these 2 bolts through this base plate. This base plate goes underneath the hood, and that gives it a place to bolt these draw latches into. I've gone ahead and removed these bolts in order to loosen this base mount plate here. So now there's some alignment that needs to happen to mount this into the correct spot. It needs to get mounted right here. If you see these rows of holes, you'll pick the middle row, and it's one towards the middle of the machine. It will be mounted just like that. Out of these middle rows here, you should have 1 hole in the middle row showing on either end. Then on the other side of the mount, there should be 3 holes showing in the middle row. Now that you have the alignment of it in the proper place, you can go ahead and just hand screw your bolts through here. Then you want to get your base mount plate, and underneath the hood, screw these 2 bolts into those 2 holes keeping the same alignment. Here's a shot from underneath the hood showing the base plate. I've started to hand screw the bolts in from the top. I'm going to continue doing that until this base mount plate is secure, and then you'll need to tighten it with a tool from the top end. So now that I've got them hand threaded, I'm going to finish by tightening these bolts with a number 4 Allen key or hex tool. You'll want to tighten those down so it's secure. Now that you've got this draw latch mount in place, you're going to do the same thing on the right side. So again, they come in the box like this, and you just want to remove this base mount plate and then remove the screws. You're going to go 1 in from the inside middle row to mount it right here, exactly like you did on the left side. You can see that I have hand tightened this one over here, just like we did on the left side. You'll see in the middle row here, there's 3 exposed holes. Then on the outside of the machine's middle row, there's 1 exposed hole. That's the correct alignment that you need to have. Then this piece needs to be pointing out the other direction. As I'm filming this, I realized that this one is not pointing the right way. So I'm going to remove this, flip it around and get it corrected. I fixed my mistake, so now you'll see that for both of these draw latches, the bend points outwards on either side. So now these are completed and we're going to show the steps to reinstall the hood. You'll see that the left and right side hinges, left and right side plates, transport axle, 2 wheels, and 2 tank draw latch mounts on your hood are now all installed. So now you're just going to reinstall your hood by placing the hood back over the top of the machine and reinstalling your 4 screws that secure the hood. You should have 4 total, 1 in each corner on the left and right side. Then on the front side of the machine, it is the same. Now that you've got your hood installed, I have laid these draw latch mounts down flat. We're going to install the handle next. This will come in a separate box like we mentioned earlier in the video. It mounts to either side of these side hinges. Remove the hand-tightened bolts that came with your side hinges, and then reinstall them and tighten them into the handle. I've now removed these bolts from the side hinges. Now you can install the handle. Make sure that the black power box on the handle goes on the right side when looking at the back of the machine. It is helpful if you have an extra hand to assist with holding the handle in place while you hand-tighten the bolts on either side. Once you've finished tightening those bolts by hand, the handle should stand upright on its own. Then, tighten them down more with a hex tool. I am using a number 6 hex tool. Now that we've got all the different components of the Manta Ray retrofit kit installed, the last part is the tank. The front side of the tank has this nose going on it. So just make sure when you're laying the tank on top of the hood, that the nose goes out in front. It sits right on top of the hood, and then the draw latches on either side are what hold it into place. This concludes how to install the Manta Ray retrofit kit. There are a series of tubing, your fluid axle that goes through your brushes, your power cords over here that power the pump and power the machine. We'll do a separate video that's about general operation and setup of the machine. Make sure to watch that video so you get all your wiring connected correctly and your fluid axle installed properly.